It's always lovely to come to you week after week to show you all sorts of new developments as part of our ongoing Kadima project. As you can see, this new outer wall is really taking shape. But I want to focus more this week, not on our building, but on our Torah portion, and on an important lesson that it can teach all of us, especially those of us who are in positions of leadership. A true story. On August 5th, 1949, at Man Gulch, Montana, there was a man named Wagner Dodge who entered history by literally standing in the fire. He was a veteran sky jumper, coming out of the Second World War, having parachuted into all sorts of enemy territory. He, along with 13 other fire jumpers, jumped into this horrific forest fire in Man Gulch. As they were there in the fire, they noticed that the trajectory of the fire shifted precipitously, and it was facing 30-mile-an-hour winds. Wagner Dodge, being such a veteran, looked at this situation and he thought to himself, there is no way that we are going to make it out of this fire alive. And so what he did is he burned a very large circle in the ground, burning off all the fuel that the fire might need to use to be able to continue going forward. And he yelled to his fellow firefighters. He said, "Come, stand in this circle with me. Together we might be able to survive this fire. It might literally jump over us." But they didn't listen to him. Instead, they tried to run up the ravine. And sadly, those 13 men died. However, Wagner Dodge, in that moment, by being able to literally stand in the fire and lie down onto the scorched earth, was able to emerge unscathed from this forest fire. It became the focus of a book by the author Norman MacLean, the man who also wrote the book that became the Oscar-winning movie, A River Runs Through It. It also became the focus of a song by a folk music band called Cry, Cry, Cry. It's one of my favorites. But it makes me really think about leadership. And in fact, this story comes from a wonderful book on leadership called Standing in the Fire. And I think about our new trustees and new officers who are about to be installed this Friday night at Shabbat services into their positions of leadership. And in this book, Larry Dressler speaks about a leader being a fire tender. He says that a fire tender is one who stands in the face of incendiary conflicts and perplexing challenges, helping others stick with uncertainty, troubling emotions, and conflict long enough to arrive at new insights and common ground. This kind of leadership, he says, involves learning to face those things we most fear, to sit in the midst of intense personal discomfort, to resist acting on old stories and impulses, and to be present to what is emerging in the group and within ourselves. I can't think of a better example as to what it means to be a synagogue leader, to be able to literally stand in the fire, because people bring to the synagogue so often so many of their own stories and their own issues, and we as synagogue leaders get to hold it. In this week's Torah portion, known as Shelach Lecha, we meet this moment where two leaders are literally able to stand in the fire. Coming back from having scouted the land, 10 of the 12 spies come back with negative reports. They say the land is filled with giants. There is no possible way that we can be able to take this land. But two of the spies, Caleb and Joshua, they are fire tenders. They are able to stand in the fire and are able to say to the rest of the community, we can do it. We can go up and we can be able to take this land that God has promised us. They have a deep sense of faith and they have a deep sense of purpose, and they also understand themselves well enough. Sadly, the community overtakes them. Sadly, the community has such a negative view of being able to take the land that they lose faith, and God punishes the people by making them wander for another 38 years in the wilderness until that generation dies out, until a new generation that only knows freedom, that only knows God's Torah as its mission statement, is able to be born into the wilderness and to be able to come into the land. Caleb and Joshua, however, are not punished. By being able to stand in the fire, they remain unscathed, and they are blessed by being the only two who have come out of Egypt to enter into the land of Israel. It's a wonderful message for all of us, dealing with our families, dealing with our places of work, dealing with any kind of human interaction that we might have. How can we be fire tenders? How can we pay attention to the fires that might well up within us, those things that make us uncomfortable, and rather to sit in the discomfort, to sit in it long enough to be able to help others reach a place of calm and understanding. So come and join us this Friday night as we install our new board, install Sue Zeitlin as our new congregational president. And then again, come later in the month as we meet another young woman who has learned to really stand in the fire as part of our Pride Shabbat. when she will be speaking with us. A young woman named Alex Bernstein, who will be telling her story as part of Pride Shabbat, where we learn how she herself has been a woman being able to stand in the fire, being true to who she is and what she is. Again, wishing you an early Shabbat Shalom. Take a look around at this wonderful construction that we have going on here of our new place that will truly bring a light to everybody who comes to be a part of us.